Picture this. You're 7 months pregnant, trapped inside your burning home, pounding on a locked door, screaming for help. And through the smoke and flames, you see your husband standing on the lawn with the key in his hand. But he's not alone. There's a woman beside him, she's smiling. And as you beg for your life and the life of your unborn baby, your husband whispers 6 words that will haunt you forever. By sunrise, she and that baby will be gone. Then he walks away, leaves you to burn, collects $3 million in life insurance, and marries his mistress 4 months later. 4 years ago, Naomi Reynolds pounded desperately on the locked iron security door of her burning home. Flames roared behind her, devouring the kitchen where she had been cooking dinner just minutes before. Through the smoke and fire, she could see him standing on the front lawn, backlit by the inferno. Her husband Marcus held the key in his hand, his arm wrapped around another woman. Naomi was 7 months pregnant, her belly pressed against the hot metal door as she screamed his name, begging him to open it. But Marcus just stood there, staring at her, with eyes that held no recognition, no love, nothing but cold calculation. The woman beside him was beautiful in a way that made Naomi's heart break even as she fought for her life. Tall, thin, perfect, everything Naomi felt she was not. The woman smiled as Marcus leaned down and whispered something in her ear. Then he looked directly at Naomi, trapped and burning, and spoke words that would echo in her nightmares forever. By sunrise, she and that baby will be gone. We will start fresh. Then he turned and walked away. The woman in his arms laughed, the sound carrying across the lawn like broken glass. They climbed into Marcus's car and drove off, leaving Naomi to die in the home they had shared for 8 years. But let us go back 3 weeks to when Naomi still believed her life was perfect. Naomi stood in her kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon, piping buttercream roses onto a 3-tier wedding cake. Her business, Reynolds Events, had been her pride and joy for 5 years. She planned parties, weddings, corporate events, anything that required attention to detail and a gift for making people feel special. The work was demanding, but she loved it. Every event was a story, and she got to write the happy endings. Her hand moved to her swollen belly as the baby kicked. 7 months along, and she could not wait to meet her daughter. She and Marcus had already picked out a name. Harper. Harper Rose Reynolds. Marcus had been distant lately, but Naomi told herself it was just stress. His real estate investment company was struggling. The market was tough, he said. Deals were falling through. He needed to work late, take meetings on weekends, travel to Austin and Houston to meet potential investors. Naomi believed him because she wanted to. Because when you love someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You ignore the expensive cologne you did not buy him. You do not question the credit card charges from hotels when he said he was staying with his college buddy. You push down the sick feeling in your stomach when he comes home at 2 in the morning smelling like perfume and tells you he was at a business dinner. Her best friend Kelly had asked her once, point blank, if she thought Marcus was cheating. They were having lunch at their favorite cafe, and Kelly had that look on her face. The one that said she knew something but was afraid to say it. Is he treating you right? Kelly had asked, her hand covering Naomi's. Of course, Naomi had replied, pulling her hand away. Why would you even ask that? Because you deserve better than crumbs, Kelly said softly. You deserve a man who shows up, who is excited about his baby, who does not make you feel like you are always apologizing for existing. Naomi had laughed it off, changed the subject, but Kelly's words stuck with her. Late at night when Marcus came home smelling like cigar smoke and someone else's perfume, those words whispered in her mind. You deserve better. The truth was, Naomi had gained 40 pounds during her pregnancy. She saw the way Marcus looked at her now, like she was something he had to tolerate rather than love. She caught him checking out other women at restaurants, thin women, women who looked nothing like her. But marriage was work, right? You did not give up just because things got hard. You fought for your family, especially with a baby coming. What Naomi did not know was that 3 blocks away, in a sleek, high-rise apartment overlooking downtown Dallas, her husband was making a very different kind of plan. Vanessa Cole stood at her floor-to-ceiling window, a glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other. She was 26 years old and had spent her entire life clawing her way up from nothing. Born in a trailer park, raised by a mother who worked 3 jobs and still could not pay the bills, Vanessa had promised herself one thing. She would never be poor again. She had started as a secretary at Marcus's real estate firm 2 years ago. Within 6 months, she was in his bed. Within a year, she was planning their future together. The problem was Naomi, sweet, trusting, pregnant Naomi, who refused to just disappear. If you want a future with me, Vanessa said to Marcus that night, then you need to free yourself from her. Marcus sat on her white leather couch, his head in his hands. It is not that simple, Vanessa. She is pregnant. That is my kid. Is it? Vanessa's voice was ice cold. Marcus looked up, anger flashing. Do not play games with me. I am not playing. Vanessa sat beside him, her hand on his thigh. I am asking you to choose, me or her. The life you want or the life you are stuck in, because I am done hiding. I am done being the other woman. Either you handle this or I am gone. She stood and walked to the window, her back to him. She knew exactly what she was doing. Marcus was weak. He wanted things he could not afford. He wanted status he had not earned. And Vanessa knew how to use that. You know she has a life insurance policy, right? Vanessa said, her voice casual. $3 million. I saw the paperwork on your desk last month. Marcus went still. What are you saying? Vanessa turned around, her eyes meeting his. I am saying accidents happen. Fires happen, especially in old houses with bad wiring, especially to pregnant women who cannot move fast. She walked back to him, kneeling in front of him, her hands on his knees. I am saying you could be free. We could be free. You could pay off all your debts, start over, and build the life you deserve. With me. Marcus stared at her. You are crazy. No, baby. Vanessa smiled. I am realistic, and I am tired of waiting. She stood and walked to her bedroom, leaving Marcus sitting in the dark. He should have walked out, should have gone home to his wife, should have chosen the woman who loved him and the baby they had made together. But he did not. 3 days later, Marcus started planning his wife's murder. Marcus told himself he was just thinking through possibilities, just exploring options. It was not real until he actually did something, right? He could change his mind. He could stop. But every night he lay next to Naomi, listening to her breathe, watching her rub her belly in her sleep. And he thought about $3 million. He thought about freedom. He thought about Vanessa's body and her ambition and the life she promised him. A life where he was not failing. A life where he was somebody. The smoke detectors were easy. He told Naomi they were old, that he was replacing them. She smiled and thanked him for being so thoughtful. He disabled every single one. The gas line was trickier. He waited until Naomi was at her doctor's appointment, then loosened the connection behind the stove. Just enough, not too much. It had to look like an accident. He removed the battery from her phone while she showered. She would think it died. She always forgot to charge it. He made sure their closest neighbors were out of town that week. Ed and Martha, the retired couple next door, were visiting their daughter in Arizona. Perfect timing. On the night it happened, Marcus came home with flowers. Naomi's face lit up when she saw them. For me? She asked, her hand on her heart. For my beautiful wife, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. He felt nothing, no guilt, no love, just the need to get through this evening so he could move forward with his plan. He set up candles on the dining room table, poured wine for himself, sparkling cider for Naomi. He was attentive, affectionate, everything a devoted husband should be. Naomi glowed under his attention. She had missed this version of Marcus, the man she married, the man who made her feel beautiful. After dinner, Marcus checked his watch. I forgot to grab something from the store, he said. For dessert. I will be right back. 20 minutes. Naomi smiled. Hurry back. I am making your favorite gumbo. Marcus kissed her one more time, his hand resting briefly on her belly. The baby kicked against his palm. For a moment, something flickered in his chest. Doubt, maybe, or fear. Then he thought about his gambling debts. $200,000 to men who would break his legs if he did not pay. He thought about his failing business, the investors who were pulling out, the reputation he was losing. He thought about Vanessa waiting for him. The moment passed. Marcus walked out the door, climbed into his car, and drove 3 blocks away. He parked in a spot where he could see his house, but would not be immediately visible. He pulled out his phone and sent a text. Tonight, Vanessa's reply came instantly, about time. Inside the house, Naomi hummed along to gospel music while she stirred her pot of gumbo. She was happy. Her husband had been sweet tonight, attentive like he used to be. Maybe things were going to be okay. Maybe they were going to make it. She lit a candle on the counter, the same lavender candle she always used. It made the kitchen smell like summer. She did not smell the gas filling the room. The explosion was so loud it shook windows 4 blocks away. The blast threw Naomi across the kitchen. Her body slammed into the wall and she fell hard. Her head cracked against the tile floor. Everything went black. When she opened her eyes, the world was fire, flames everywhere. The kitchen was an inferno. The living room was engulfed. Smoke poured through the house, thick and black, choking her. Naomi tried to scream, but her lungs would not work. She tried to stand, but her legs were not responding. So she crawled, one hand in front of the other, dragging her pregnant body across the burning floor. The heat was unbearable. She could feel her skin blistering, melting. She could smell her own hair burning. But she kept moving. For Harper, for her baby girl who was kicking frantically inside her, fighting to live. "Help," Naomi whispered. "Somebody help me." Through the smoke, she saw the front door. It was open. Just a few more feet. She could make it. Then she heard voices outside. Marcus's voice. "By sunrise, she and that baby will be gone. We will start fresh." Naomi froze. She knew that voice. That was her husband, her Marcus. She crawled to the doorway, her vision blurring. And through the flames, through the smoke, she saw him. Marcus standing on the sidewalk, not running toward her, not calling 911, just standing there, watching. And beside him, a woman. Tall, beautiful, smiling. The woman took a selfie with the burning house in the background, actually took out her phone and posed. Naomi's heart shattered, not from the fire, from the truth, the horrible, devastating truth. "You did this, you wanted this, you chose this, Marcus," Naomi whispered, her hand reaching toward him. "Please." He looked directly at her. Their eyes met, and then he turned away, put his arm around the woman beside him, walked toward his car. Naomi felt her body giving up. The smoke was too thick, the heat too much. Harper had stopped kicking. She collapsed onto the floor, her hand still stretched toward the door, toward the husband who had left her to die. "Not today, baby," she whispered to her daughter. "Not today." The ceiling collapsed. Darkness swallowed everything. Naomi Reynolds died that night, or so everyone thought. Catherine Morrison was 62 years old and had spent 35 years with the Dallas Fire Department. She had been one of the first Black women to make fire marshal in Texas. She had seen things that would haunt most people for life. She had learned to trust her gut. And that night, walking her German Shepherd past the Reynolds house, her gut screamed that something was wrong. She had seen Marcus Reynolds sitting in his car 3 blocks down. Just sitting there at 7:40 in the evening, staring at his phone. It struck her as odd. 2 minutes later, she heard the explosion, saw the fireball tear through the roof of the small house, and she saw Marcus Reynolds get out of his car, walk slowly toward the burning home, and make a phone call before he called 911. Not after. Before. Kate watched his face in the glow of the flames. No panic, no horror, no desperate attempt to help his wife. Just cold calculation. When the firefighters arrived, Kate stayed in the shadows. She watched them carry out what they thought was a body, too burned to identify. And she watched Marcus Reynolds cry for the cameras, while a beautiful woman in a Mercedes watched from across the street. After everyone left, after the scene was cleared, Kate went back. It was nearly 2 in the morning. The house was still smoking, still too hot in most places. But Kate had walked through fire scenes for 3 decades. She knew where to look. And that is when she found her. In the corner of what used to be the living room, behind a collapsed bookshelf covered in ash and debris, was Naomi Reynolds, still breathing, barely. Her body was so badly burned that Kate almost did not recognize her as human, but her chest was moving, up and down, fighting for every breath. "Oh, sweet Jesus," Kate whispered, dropping to her knees. She pressed 2 fingers to Naomi's neck. The pulse was weak, but it was there. Kate knew she should call 911. Knew this woman needed a hospital immediately, but something stopped her. That phone call, Marcus's face, the woman in the Mercedes. If someone had tried to kill Naomi once, they would try again. And if she went to a hospital, If her name went into the system, she would be a sitting duck. So Kate made a choice. She dragged Naomi's body from the rubble, loaded her into the back of her SUV, and drove to the one place no one would find them, an off-grid cabin in rural East Texas that Kate's late husband had built 20 years ago. No neighbors for miles, no cell service. Perfect for hiding, perfect for saving a life. The drive took 2 hours. Naomi did not wake up. Kate checked her pulse at every red light, praying she would make it. When they finally reached the cabin, Kate carried Naomi inside and laid her on the bed. Kate had been a firefighter, not a doctor, but she had seen enough burn victims to know what to do. She cleaned the wounds as gently as she could, applied burn gel, wrapped Naomi in clean bandages, started an IV with supplies she kept for emergencies. Then she waited. For 3 days, Naomi drifted in and out of consciousness. She mumbled words Kate could not understand. She cried out for someone named Marcus. She clutched her belly and screamed, "My baby, save my baby." On the fourth day at 3:17 in the morning, Naomi went into labor. Kate had delivered 6 babies during her career. Rural fire calls sometimes had meant arriving before ambulances, but this was different. Naomi was unconscious. Her body was in shock. The baby was 2 months premature, and Kate was alone. "Come on, baby girl," Kate whispered, her hands steady despite the fear. "You fight. You hear me? You fight for your mama." The labor lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of Kate doing everything she could to keep both Naomi and the baby alive. 4 hours of praying harder than she had ever prayed. At 7:23 in the morning, as the sun rose over the East Texas pines, a baby girl came into the world. She was tiny. So tiny, Kate could hold her in one hand. She was not breathing. Her skin was blue. For a horrible moment, Kate thought she had lost her. But Kate remembered her training. She cleared the baby's airway, rubbed her back, breathed into her tiny mouth once, twice, 3 times. And then the baby cried. It was the most beautiful sound Kate had ever heard. She wrapped the baby in a clean towel, held her close, and looked at Naomi, still unconscious on the bed. "Your baby is alive," Kate whispered. "She is a fighter, just like you." But Naomi did not wake up, and the baby needed more help than Kate could give. She was premature, struggling to breathe, too small. Kate made another impossible choice. She drove the baby to Dallas Children's Hospital in the early morning darkness. She left her in a warming basket outside the emergency entrance with a note. "Baby girl Reynolds, born September 12th, mother deceased. Please save her." Kate watched from her car as nurses rushed out, saw the baby, and carried her inside with urgent shouts. Then Kate drove away, tears streaming down her face. When she got back to the cabin, Naomi was seizing. Her body was rejecting the trauma. The burns were infected. She was dying. Kate spent the next 2 weeks fighting death itself. She called in favors from old colleagues who did not ask questions. Got antibiotics, pain medication, eye fluids. She changed Naomi's bandages 3 times a day, forced water and broth down her throat, talked to her, read to her, prayed over her, and slowly, impossibly, Naomi started to heal. 3 months after the fire, Naomi opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was an unfamiliar ceiling. Wood beams, soft morning light filtering through white curtains. The second thing she noticed was the pain. Her entire body felt like it was still on fire. She tried to sit up and immediately collapsed back, gasping. "Easy," a voice said, a woman's voice. "You are strong, but do not try to move yet. Your body has been through hell." Naomi turned her head. An older black woman sat in a chair beside the bed, wearing a faded Dallas Fire Department t-shirt. She had kind eyes, worried eyes. "Who are you?" Naomi's voice came out as a croak. "My name is Catherine Morrison. Kate, I pulled you out of a fire 3 months ago. You have been here, healing." Fire, by the word hit Naomi like a truck. Images flashed through her mind. Flames, smoke, a man's voice. Marcus, and then nothing. "My baby," Naomi whispered, her hand moving to her stomach. It was flat, empty. Panic seized her chest. "Where is my baby? What happened to my baby?" Kate's face softened. "Your baby is alive. She is beautiful. She is healthy, But you were in a coma when you delivered, and she was premature. I had to take her to the hospital. She is in foster care now, safe, under the name Baby Girl Reynolds. Naomi started crying, deep, wrenching sobs. I want my baby. Please, I need my baby. I know, Kate said gently. And when you are strong enough, I will help you find her. I promise. But first, you need to hear the truth. Naomi tried to remember more. She had been cooking, lit a candle, then the explosion, crawling, the door, and Marcus. Marcus standing outside with another woman, watching her burn. But that could not be right. Marcus loved her. Marcus would never hurt her. My husband, Naomi said suddenly. Marcus, where is he? Does he know I am alive? Kate's jaw tightened. She had been dreading this conversation. Naomi, listen to me very carefully. The fire that almost killed you was not an accident. Someone wanted you dead. I saw your husband that night. I saw him sitting in his car, waiting. I saw him make a phone call before he called for help. And I saw him walk away with another woman while you burned. No, Naomi shook her head. No, you are wrong. Marcus would not do that. We were having a baby. He loved me. Someone wanted you dead, Kate repeated, her voice firm. And I am not letting them finish the job. As far as the world knows, Naomi Reynolds died in that fire. Her body was burned beyond identification. There was a funeral. Your husband collected your life insurance. $3 million. The room started spinning. $3 million. Marcus collected it, which meant Marcus thought she was dead, which meant Marcus wanted her dead. I do not understand, Naomi whispered. Why would he do this? We were happy. I do not know why, Kate said, but I know what I saw, and I know you are not safe. Not until we figure out what really happened and who wanted you gone. Naomi looked down at her hands. They were covered in scars, thick, raised keloids that ran up her arms, across her chest. She touched her face and felt the same rough texture. What do I do? Naomi asked, her voice breaking. How do I live now? Kate reached over and took Naomi's scarred hand in hers. You survive. You get strong. You find your daughter, and then you decide what comes next. But right now, Naomi Reynolds is dead, and she needs to stay dead until we know you are safe. Then who am I? Kate pulled something from her pocket, a partially melted baby bracelet. The metal had warped in the fire, but 3 letters were still visible. N-I-A, you are Nia Ward, my niece. And as long as they think you are dead, you are safe. Naomi, no, Nia stared at the bracelet. Everything she had been was gone. Her name, her face, her husband, her baby, her life. But she was alive. And somewhere in Dallas, her daughter was alive too. Teach me, Nia whispered, her eyes meeting Kate's. Teach me everything. Because when I am ready, I am going back, and I am finding out the truth. Kate smiled. It was a sad smile, but there was something fierce behind it. Then let us get to work. The rehabilitation was brutal. For the first month, Nia could not walk more than a few steps without collapsing. Her lungs had been damaged by smoke. Her muscles had atrophied during the coma. The burns on her legs made every movement agony. But Kate pushed her. Every single day. Again, Kate would say when Nia fell, get up and try again. I cannot, Nia would cry. You can, Kate would insist, because your daughter needs you, and you are not going to let those people win. So Nia got up again and again. She walked, then climbed stairs, then ran. She learned to control the panic attacks that came every time she smelled smoke. She learned to sleep without screaming. She learned to look at her scars and see survival instead of shame. While her body healed, Kate taught her everything else. Fire dynamics, burn patterns, how to tell the difference between accidental fires and arson, how to read people, how to investigate, how to think like someone who hunts down the truth. If you are going back into that world, Kate said, you need to go back smart. You need to go back dangerous. But there was still one problem. Nia could not remember everything. The trauma had fractured her memory. She remembered the fire. She remembered the pain. But everything before that was foggy. She knew Marcus had betrayed her, but she could not remember why. She knew there was another woman, but she could not see her face clearly. The only memory that stayed sharp was the feeling of being left to die, the feeling of watching her husband choose someone else. And the baby, always the baby, the daughter she had fought to save. 3 months became 6 months. 6 months became a year. And slowly, Nia Ward became someone new. Someone stronger, someone smarter, someone who would never be a victim again. Kate helped her build a complete new identity. Credentials from Texas A&M in fire science, a master's degree in trauma psychology from UT Austin, published articles, a TED Talk about survival that went viral. Everything legitimate, everything verified through Kate's network of contacts. One more thing, Kate said, handing Nia a business card. Dr. Patricia Morrison, she is a therapist who specializes in trauma. She is also an old friend who owes me a favor. If anyone asks, you have been her patient for 2 years. She will back up your story. Nia looked at the card, then at Kate. Why are you doing this? You could get in serious trouble for helping me. Kate's expression softened. Because 30 years ago, someone tried to kill me too. My ex-husband. He set fire to my apartment while I was sleeping. I survived. He went to prison. But nobody believed me at first. Everyone thought it was an accident. Everyone except one fire marshal who saw what I saw and helped me prove the truth. She reached over and squeezed Nia's hand. I am paying it forward. And besides, I have seen enough corrupt men get away with murder. Not this time. 18 months after the fire, Nia stood in front of the bathroom mirror. The burns had healed as much as they ever would. The scars ran down the left side of her face, across her neck, down her arms. They were part of her now. But it was her eyes that had changed the most. They were not soft anymore. They were not trusting. They were the eyes of someone who had crawled through hell and survived. Kate stood in the doorway. You ready? Nia thought about Marcus, thought about the woman who had smiled while she burned, thought about Harper, her daughter, growing up without her. I am ready. That afternoon, Kate showed Nia the research she had been doing. For 18 months, Kate had been tracking Marcus and the woman. Their names, their love song, everything. His name is still Marcus Reynolds, Kate said, spreading papers across the kitchen table. And her name is Vanessa Cole. They got married 4 months after your funeral. Used your life insurance money for the wedding. $100,000 event at the Rosewood Hotel. Nia felt her stomach twist. Show me. Kate pulled up Vanessa's Instagram on her laptop. The account was public, full of photos. Vanessa in designer clothes. Vanessa at expensive restaurants. Vanessa showing off a massive diamond ring. And Marcus. Marcus looking older, more polished, but still the same man who had left Nia to die. The caption on their wedding photo made Nia's blood boil. From tragedy to triumph, forever starts now. They built their happiness on my grave, Nia said quietly. They did, Kate agreed. But here is the interesting part. Marcus is running for Dallas City Council, District 7, and his entire platform is fire safety and housing protection. He is using your death to get elected. Kate pulled up Marcus's campaign website. There he was in a suit, looking sincere and caring. His slogan, in memory of Naomi, building safer communities. Nia stared at the screen. He is using me, using my death to make himself look like a hero. He is, Kate said, which means he needs experts, fire safety consultants, people who can legitimize his platform, people like you. Nia's eyes met Kate's. I want to work for him. I know, Kate said, and I have already built you the perfect resume. Dr. Nia Ward, fire behavior specialist and trauma psychologist. You are exactly what his campaign needs. When do I start? Kate smiled. Whenever you are ready to walk back into the life of the man who tried to murder you. Nia looked at the screen again, at Marcus's face, at Vanessa beside him in the campaign photos, at the perfect life they had built on lies and insurance money. She thought about Harper. 18 months old now, according to Kate's research, living with foster parents named Jennifer and David Bennett. Safe, loved, growing up without knowing her real mother. I am ready, Nia said. Let me destroy him. 2 weeks later, Nia stood outside the campaign headquarters for Marcus Reynolds in downtown Dallas. The building was sleek, modern, all glass and steel. A banner hung across the front. Carter for Council, Building Safer Dallas. Nia's stomach twisted. She could still turn around, walk away, Find Harper some other way. But then she thought about Marcus on television, using her death to earn votes. Thought about Vanessa's Instagram, flaunting the life she had stolen. No, there was no turning back. She walked through the front door. The office buzzed with activity. Young volunteers rushed around with clipboards. A receptionist sat at the front desk, typing rapidly. Behind her, photos of Marcus covered the walls. Marcus at community events. Marcus with seniors. Marcus at the site of burned-down buildings, wearing a hard hat, looking concerned. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked, looking up with a bright smile. "Yes," Nia said, her voice steady despite her hammering heart. "My name is Dr. Nia Ward. I am a fire behavior specialist and trauma psychologist. I would like to volunteer my expertise for Mr. Reynolds' housing safety initiative." The receptionist's eyes lit up. "Oh, wonderful. Mr. Reynolds has been looking for experts in that field. Let me see if he is available." She picked up the phone. "Mr. Reynolds, there is a Dr. Nia Ward here to see you. She is a fire specialist." "Yes, I will send her back." She hung up and gestured toward a hallway. "Last door on the right. He is excited to meet you." Nia's legs felt like lead as she walked down that hallway. 18 months of preparation. 18 months of dreaming about this moment. And now it was here. She knocked on the door. "Come in," Marcus's voice called out. Nia opened the door and stepped inside. And there he was, Marcus Reynolds, the man who had been her husband, the man who had promised to love her forever, the man who had left her to burn alive. He sat behind a large desk wearing a crisp white shirt and burgundy tie. He looked older, more distinguished, a few gray hairs at his temples, but it was definitely him. He stood and extended his hand. "Dr. Ward, thank you so much for coming. We need people like you on this campaign." Nia shook his hand. His grip was firm, confident. He looked directly into her eyes. And for one terrifying moment, she thought he knew, thought he recognized her. But then he smiled and gestured to a chair. "Please, sit down. Tell me about your work." He did not know. He was looking right at her, and he did not know. Nia sat down, keeping her breathing steady. "I specialize in fire behavior and the psychological impact of fire-related trauma. I survived a major fire myself several years ago, which led me to this work. I help survivors rebuild their lives while also consulting on fire prevention and safety protocols." Marcus's expression became somber. "I understand loss from fire all too well. 4 years ago, I lost my first wife and our unborn daughter in a house fire. It was the worst night of my life." Liar, Nia thought. Murderer, but her face remained sympathetic. "I am so sorry for your loss. That must have been devastating." "It was," Marcus said, his voice heavy with false emotion. "But it is also what drives me now. I want to make sure no family has to go through what I went through. That is why housing safety is the cornerstone of my campaign." "That is a beautiful mission," Nia said. Each word tasted like poison. "And I would like to help however I can." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes lighting up. "Actually, I am putting together a housing safety task force. Community leaders, fire experts, architects, engineers. We are going to audit high-risk housing in District 7 and create actionable recommendations. Would you be interested in joining?" "Absolutely," Nia said. "Excellent." Marcus stood and walked around his desk. "Let me introduce you to my wife. She is the real brains behind this operation. Vanessa." The door opened and she walked in. Vanessa Cole. No, Vanessa Reynolds now. She was even more beautiful in person than in photos. Tall, elegant, wearing a navy blue pantsuit that probably cost more than Naomi's entire catering business had made in a year. This was the woman who had stolen her life. "Baby, this is Dr. Nia Ward," Marcus said, putting his arm around Vanessa's waist. "She is a fire specialist who is going to join our task force." Vanessa's eyes swept over Nia, assessing, calculating. For a moment, Nia saw something flicker across her face. Suspicion? Recognition? But then it was gone, replaced by a polished smile. "Dr. Ward?" "Warnham," Vanessa said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "Welcome to the team. We are thrilled to have you." Nia shook her hand. The woman's grip was cold. "Thank you. I am excited to contribute to such an important cause." "Nia survived a major fire herself," Marcus added. "She understands the trauma firsthand." Vanessa's smile did not reach her eyes. How fortunate that you survived. Not everyone is so lucky. She glanced at Marcus meaningfully. As we know all too well. Yes, Naya said softly, not everyone survives. But sometimes the ones who do come back stronger than before. Something passed between them in that moment. A silent challenge. Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly, studying Naya's face, her scars, her posture. Naya held her gaze, unflinching. Well, Marcus said, oblivious to the tension. Our first task force meeting is this Thursday at 6. Can you make it? I will be there, Nia said, standing up. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Reynolds. Mrs. Reynolds, please call me Marcus, he said, walking her to the door. We are all family here. Family. The word was a knife in Naya's chest, but she smiled and nodded and walked out of that office without looking back. She made it to her car before her hands started shaking. She gripped the steering wheel, breathing deeply, fighting the urge to scream. She had done it. She had stood in the same room with them, shaken their hands, looked into their eyes, and they had no idea who she was. Her phone buzzed, a text from Kate. How did it go? Nia typed back, I am in. But as she pulled out of the parking lot, she did not notice the car parked across the street. Did not see the man in the driver's seat watching her through dark sunglasses, a phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, it is me, the man said. You were right to be paranoid. That Dr. Ward woman, something is off about her. I am running her background now. He paused, listening. Do not worry, Mrs. Reynolds. If she is not who she says she is, I will find out. That is what you pay me for. He hung up and took a photo of Naya's license plate as she drove away. Inside the campaign office, Vanessa stood at the window watching Dr. Ward's car disappear into traffic. Marcus had gone back to his desk, already on another phone call, completely unconcerned. But Vanessa could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. That woman's eyes, the way she had looked at Marcus, the way she had said, sometimes the ones who do come back stronger than before. Vanessa pulled out her phone and dialed a number she had not called in 6 months. Silas, she said when he answered, I need you to do something for me. I am listening, said the voice on the other end. Silas Cole, Vanessa's younger brother. Former police detective, now a private investigator who specialized in problems that needed to disappear. There is a woman, Vanessa said, Dr. Naya Ward. She just joined Marcus's campaign. Run a full background check. And I mean full. I want to know everything about her. Where she came from, where she has been, everything. You think she is a problem? Silas asked. I think she is familiar, Vanessa said slowly. And familiar is dangerous. Give me 48 hours, Silas said. If there is anything to find, I will find it. Vanessa hung up and stared at her reflection in the window. She had worked too hard to get here, sacrificed too much. She was not about to let some scarred-up fire expert ruin everything. But deep down, in a place she did not like to acknowledge, Vanessa felt something she had not felt in 4 years. Fear. Over the next 2 weeks, Naya worked closely with Marcus's campaign. She attended task force meetings, contributed expertise, built credibility, and every moment she watched, listened, gathered evidence. Marcus was exactly as she remembered, charming in public, dismissive in private. He complained about Vanessa constantly when they thought no one could hear. She is so controlling. She checks my phone 10 times a day. I feel like I am in prison. Nia wanted to laugh. He had no idea what prison really was, what it felt like to be trapped in a burning house while your husband held the key. She hacked into Marcus's email using skills Kate had taught her. What she found made her blood run cold. Marcus had gambling debts again. $500,000 this time. He had been stealing from campaign funds to pay them off. And worse, he was having an affair with a 23-year-old campaign intern named Brittany. He was doing it again. The same pattern. Using women, discarding them when they became inconvenient. But Naya's most painful discovery came at a campaign event at Dallas Children's Hospital. She was standing near the entrance when she heard a child's laughter, high and bright and beautiful. She turned and saw them, a couple in their mid-30s, holding the hands of a little girl. The girl was maybe 18 months old, with dark curly hair and big brown eyes. Harper. Nia's heart stopped. Her daughter. The baby she had fought to save. The reason she survived. Harper was wearing a pink dress with a bow. She was laughing at something her foster father said. She looked healthy, happy, loved. Nia wanted to run to her, wanted to scoop her up and never let go, but she could not. Not yet. Marcus appeared beside Nia, following her gaze. Oh, that is the Bennetts. Great supporters. Their daughter Harper is actually, well, this is sad, but she was orphaned in a house fire. They adopted her as a baby. Nia could barely breathe. Really? Yeah, Marcus said, his voice taking on that false sympathy. Actually, it was my first wife's baby, the one who died in the fire. The Bennetts got her through the foster system. Small world, right? He said it so casually, like Harper was just a footnote in his story, like she was not his daughter, like he had not tried to kill her before she was even born. That must be difficult for you, Nia managed to say, knowing she is out there but not being part of her life. Marcus shrugged. Honestly, it is probably for the best. I was not ready to be a father then. I am in a different place now. Vanessa and I are thinking about having kids soon. Starting fresh, you know? Starting fresh. The same words he had said while Naomi burned. Nia excused herself and went to the bathroom. She locked herself in a stall and cried silently, her fist pressed against her mouth. Harper was so close, so beautiful, and Marcus did not even want her. But that was not the worst of it, because when Nia left the hospital that evening and walked to her car in the parking garage, she knew something was wrong. The garage was too quiet, too empty. Her instincts, honed by 18 months of survival training, screamed danger. She was halfway to her car when she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, deliberate, she turned. A man stood 15 feet away, tall, muscular, with cold eyes. He looked like Vanessa, same nose, same jawline. Dr. Ward, he said calmly, or should I call you Naomi? Nia's blood ran cold. I do not know what you are talking about. Yes, you do, the man said, walking in closer. My sister sent me. See, Vanessa is smart. She knew something was wrong the moment she met you. And me? I am good at finding the truth. You are not Nia Ward. You are Naomi Reynolds. And you were supposed to die 4 years ago. Nia backed up against her car. If you are going to kill me, just do it. But know that if I do not check in with someone in the next hour, everything I know goes to the police. Every text, every recorded conversation, every piece of evidence. The man smiled. You are bluffing. Try me, Nia said. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the man pulled his hand from his pocket. He was holding a syringe. Here is what is going to happen, he said. You are going to get in my car. We are going to take a little drive, and then you are going to disappear again. Except this time, you will actually be dead. Nia's mind raced. She had no weapon. He was bigger, stronger, trained. This was it. This was how it ended. But then she remembered what Kate had taught her. When you cannot fight, you run. And when you cannot run, you scream. Nia screamed at the top of her lungs, a piercing, terrified scream that echoed through the parking garage. The man lunged forward, trying to cover her mouth. Nia fought back. She kicked, bit, clawed, anything to stay alive. The syringe fell from his hand and shattered on the concrete. Help! Nia screamed. Somebody help me! And then, like an angel from heaven, headlights flooded the garage. A car screeched to a stop. Kate jumped out, a gun in her hand. Back away from her, Kate shouted, Now! The man froze, his hands raised. Lady, you do not want to do this. Yes, I do, Kate said coldly. I am a licensed concealed carry holder, and I just witnessed an attempted assault. The police are already on their way. In the distance, sirens wailed. The man looked at Nia, then at Kate, then at the approaching police lights. He bolted, running toward the exit, disappearing into the night. Nia collapsed against her car, shaking. Kate ran to her, pulling her into a tight hug. It is okay, Kate whispered. I have got you. You are safe. But Nia knew the truth. She was not safe. Not anymore. Vanessa knew, which meant Marcus would know soon, and they would not stop until she was dead. For real this time. 2 police officers arrived within minutes. Nia gave a statement. Assault by an unknown man in the parking garage. He ran before she could see his face clearly. The officers took notes, told her they would review security footage, told her to be careful. After they left, Kate drove Nia back to a safe house. Not the cabin, but an apartment Kate rented under a different name. Neither of them spoke for the entire drive. When they got inside, Nia finally broke down, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I saw her, Nia cried. I held my daughter. Well, I did not hold her, but I saw her. And she does not even know who I am. She has parents who love her. And I am just this stranger who almost got killed in a parking garage. Kate held her, letting her cry. When Nia finally calmed down, Kate pulled back and looked her in the eye. You listen to me, Kate said firmly. This is not over. They made a mistake tonight. They sent that man after you. That is assault. That is evidence. That is the crack in their armor we have been waiting for. What are you saying? I am saying it is time to stop playing defense. Obama, it is time to go on the attack. We have everything we need. Your testimony, the insurance fraud, the attempted murder tonight. We just need one thing. What? We need them to confess. We need them on tape, admitting what they did. How? Nia asked. Marcus will never confess to me. Not now that Vanessa knows who I am. Kate smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then we do not give them a choice. We set a trap, and we use you as bait. The next morning, Nia sent an email to Marcus from her Dr. Nia Ward account. Mr. Reynolds, I need to speak with you urgently about a personal matter related to the fire that killed your first wife. I have information you need to hear. Can we meet tonight at your campaign office? 8 o'clock. Come alone. This is sensitive. Marcus read the email 3 times, his hands shaking. Information about Naomi's fire? What information? How could this Dr. Ward know anything? He forwarded the email to Vanessa. This is it. She knows. Vanessa texted back immediately. Silas failed. We need to handle this ourselves. I will be there. They discussed the plan. If Dr. Ward tried to blackmail them, they would pay her off. If she threatened to go to the police, they would handle it the way they had handled everything else, together. That night at 7:50, Marcus stood in his empty campaign office, waiting. Vanessa was on her way. They had a plan. Everything would be fine. At 8 o'clock exactly, Nia walked through the door. She looked different tonight. Harder, colder. She was not wearing makeup. Her scars were fully visible, and her eyes held something Marcus had never seen before. Rage. Dr. Ward, Marcus said, trying to sound casual. Thank you for coming. What is this about? Nia walked slowly into the office, her eyes never leaving his face. I think you know what this is about, Marcus. The use of his first name sent a chill down his spine. I am not sure I understand. Let me help you, Nia said, her voice eerily calm. 4 years ago, you took out a $3 million life insurance policy on your wife. 2 months later, you started sleeping with your secretary. 1 month after that, you loosened the gas line in your kitchen, disabled the smoke detectors, and set up a romantic evening that you knew would end in an explosion. Marcus's face went white. What are you talking about? Who are you? You left your 7 months pregnant wife to burn alive. Nia continued, taking another step closer. You stood outside and watched the house burn. You called your mistress before you called 911, and then you collected the insurance money and married the woman you killed for. That is insane, Marcus said, backing up. You are insane. I love Naomi. I would never do that. Do not you dare say her name, Nia screamed, her composure finally breaking. Do not you dare speak my name with the same mouth that told me you loved me while you were planning my murder. Marcus froze. Your name? What are you talking about? It is me, Marcus, Nia said, tears streaming down her scarred face. It is Naomi, the wife you tried to kill, the woman you left to die. I survived, and I came back for everything you took from me. Marcus's legs gave out. He collapsed into his chair, staring at her like he was seeing a ghost. Because he was. No, he whispered. No, you are dead. The body, the funeral. You are dead. I should be dead, Naomi said. You did everything right. The gas leak, the explosion, the fire. You should have killed me, but someone pulled me out. Someone saved me. And then I spent 4 years becoming strong enough to come back and destroy you. The office door burst open. Vanessa stood there, her face twisted with fury. And in her hand was a gun. I knew it, Vanessa said. I knew you were alive. Hello, Vanessa, Naomi said coldly. Or should I say, Mrs. Reynolds? How does it feel wearing a dead woman's life? How does it feel being dead? Dean, Vanessa shot back, raising the gun. Because that is what you should be. That is what you are going to be. Vanessa, put the gun down, Marcus shouted. This is crazy. Crazy? Vanessa laughed. She came back, Marcus. She has been playing us this whole time. She knows everything. I do know everything, Naomi said. I know you pushed him to kill me. I know you wanted my insurance money. I know you celebrated while I was crawling through fire, trying to save our baby. Your baby is gone, Vanessa said cruelly. She is someone else's daughter now. She does not even know you exist. Wrong, Naomi said. Harper knows I exist. She dreams about me. And soon, very soon, she is going to know exactly who her real mother is. That will never happen, Vanessa said, her finger tightening on the trigger. Because you are not leaving this office alive. Actually, a voice said from the doorway. You are both going to prison. Everyone turned. Kate stood there with two police detectives. And in her hand, she held up her phone, which had been recording the entire conversation. Every word, Kate said. Every confession. The insurance fraud. The murder attempt. All of it. Vanessa's gun hand wavered. No, no, this cannot be happening. Put the gun down, Mrs. Reynolds, one of the detectives said, his hand on his weapon. It is over. It is not over, Vanessa screamed, turning the gun on Naomi. If I am going down, she is going with me. The gunshot rang out, but it was not from Vanessa's gun. It was from the detectives. Vanessa fell to the ground, clutching her shoulder, screaming. The gun clattered away. Officers rushed in, securing the scene. Paramedics were called. And through it all, Naomi stood frozen, watching the two people who had destroyed her life finally face justice. It is done, Kate said softly, putting her arm around Naomi. It is finally done. But Naomi did not feel relief. She felt empty. Because justice did not bring back the 4 years she had lost. It did not give her back the baby she had carried. It did not erase the scars on her body and soul. As the police led Marcus away in handcuffs, he looked back at Naomi one last time. I am sorry, he whispered. I am so sorry, Naomi. Sorry does not bring back what you took from me, Naomi said. But watching you lose everything you stole, that is a start. 6 months later, the trial was the biggest news story in Dallas. Marcus Reynolds and Vanessa Reynolds were charged with attempted murder, insurance fraud, arson, and conspiracy. Silas Cole was charged as an accomplice for his attack on Naomi in the parking garage. The courtroom was packed every single day. News cameras lined up outside, and when Naomi Reynolds took the stand, the entire city held its breath. She told her story, every painful detail. The marriage, the betrayal, the fire, the crawl through flames, the moment she realized her husband wanted her dead, the 4 years of rebuilding herself, and the moment she held her daughter again, not as a stranger, but as her mother. He did not just try to kill me, Naomi said, her voice steady and strong. He tried to kill our daughter. She survived because I fought to keep her alive, even when I thought I was dying. And now, 4 years later, she is the reason I fought to bring him to justice. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Vanessa received 25 years. Silas got 15. When the verdict was read, Vanessa collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Silas cursed and had to be restrained. And Marcus just sat there, staring at nothing, realizing he had thrown away everything for a woman who was now going to prison with him. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Naomi. How does it feel to get justice? What is next for you? Have you reunited with your daughter? Naomi held up a hand, silencing them. Justice feels like breathing again, she said. Like the weight I have carried for 4 years has finally lifted. But more than justice, what I want is healing. For myself, for my daughter, for every survivor who has been told they should just move on and forget. She paused, looking directly into the cameras. I want to say to anyone who survives something they should not have had to survive. You are not broken. You are not damaged. You are a survivor, and your scars are proof that you refuse to die. Wear them with pride. I do. The next day, Naomi sat in a small coffee shop, waiting. She had arranged this meeting through Jennifer and David Bennett. They had been supportive, understanding, willing to help Naomi slowly reintegrate into Harper's life. The door opened and Harper walked in, holding Jennifer's hand. She was almost 2 years old now, wearing a yellow dress and carrying a stuffed rabbit. "Hi, Dr. Nia," Harper said shyly. Naomi knelt down to her level, tears already forming. "Hi, sweetheart. Actually, I need to tell you something. My real name is not Nia, it is Naomi." Harper tilted her head. "That is a pretty name." "Thank you," Naomi said. "Harper, do you remember the drawing you showed me once? The one of the lady in the fire?" Harper nodded. "That lady," Naomi said, her voice breaking. "That is me, baby. I am your first mommy, the one who was in the fire. I did not die. I survived. And I have been looking for you every single day since." Harper's eyes went wide. She looked up at Jennifer, who nodded encouragingly. Then she looked back at Naomi. "You are really my mommy?" Harper whispered. "Yes," Naomi said, crying openly now. "I am really your mommy, and I love you more than anything in this whole world." Harper was quiet for a moment, processing. Then slowly she reached out and touched Naomi's scars on her arm. "These are from the fire?" "Yes," Naomi said. "You were trying to reach me." "Yes, baby, I was trying to save you." Harper looked up at Naomi with those big brown eyes. "I knew it was you. In my dreams, I knew you were real." And then Harper stepped forward and hugged Naomi. And Naomi held her daughter, really held her, for the first time in 4 years. She breathed in the smell of her, felt her little heart beat, listened to her whisper, "I missed you, Mommy. I missed you too, baby girl," Naomi sobbed. "Every single day. But Mama is here now, and I am never leaving you again." Over the next year, Naomi slowly rebuilt her relationship with Harper. The Bennetts were gracious, allowing supervised visits that gradually increased to weekends, then weeks. They all attended family therapy together, learning how to co-parent, how to give Harper the stability of two families who loved her. Harper thrived. She called Jennifer Mama Jennifer and Naomi Mama Naomi. She had two homes, two sets of parents who would do anything for her, and she was happy. But Naomi built something else too, something that mattered even more than revenge. The Phoenix Center opened on the 5th anniversary of the fire that should have killed her. It was a sanctuary for burn survivors, domestic violence victims, and anyone who needed help rising from the ashes of their old lives. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was packed. Survivors from across Texas came. The fire department sent representatives. News cameras captured everything. And standing front and center was Harper, holding Naomi's hand, wearing a t-shirt that said, "My mama is a phoenix." 5 years ago, Naomi said into the microphone, "Someone tried to erase me. They thought fire would be the end of my story. But fire does not always destroy. Sometimes it transforms. Sometimes it reveals what was always there underneath. Strength, courage, the will to survive." She looked down at Harper and smiled. "This center is for everyone who has been told they are too broken to heal, too damaged to be whole again, too scarred to be beautiful. I am here to tell you that is a lie. Your scars are your story, your survival is your power, and your future is whatever you choose to make it." The crowd erupted in applause. Harper squeezed Naomi's hand and whispered, "I am proud of you, Mommy." "I am proud of you too, baby," Naomi said. "You are the reason I survived. You are the reason I fought. You are the reason I am standing here today." That evening, Naomi and Harper visited the site where the old house had stood. It had been rebuilt. A new family lived there now. But Naomi had bought the empty lot next door and planted a garden. Sunflowers, hundreds of them. A memorial to what was lost and a celebration of what survived. They stood there together as the sun set, mother and daughter, survivors both. "Mommy," Harper said quietly, "do you wish the fire never happened?" Naomi was quiet for a long moment, thinking. "I wish I had not suffered," she said finally. "I wish I had not lost 4 years with you. I wish I had not had to fight so hard just to survive." "But," Harper prompted. "But," Naomi continued, "I do not regret the woman the fire helped me become. That fire was meant to kill me. Instead, it made me realize how strong I really am, how much I can survive, how much I can overcome." Harper reached down and picked a sunflower, handing it to Naomi. "You are the strongest person I know." Naomi took the flower and pulled Harper close. "You are too, baby girl. You survived that fire with me. And look at us now. We are both here. We are both whole. We are both home. As the last rays of sunlight painted the sky orange and red, the colors of fire, the colors of survival, Naomi Reynolds stood with her daughter and finally felt at peace. Marcus had tried to erase her, Vanessa had tried to replace her, but Naomi had risen higher than either of them could ever imagine. She was not a victim anymore. She was not broken. She was a phoenix, and phoenixes do not burn. They rise. 3 years after the trial, Naomi's life looked nothing like the one Marcus had tried to destroy. It was better, richer, fuller, real. The Phoenix Center had helped over 500 burn survivors rebuild their lives. Naomi had published a book called Through the Flames that became a bestseller. She appeared on morning shows, gave TED Talks, and became a voice for survivors everywhere. But the best part of her life was not the success or the recognition. It was the ordinary moments. Making breakfast with Harper, reading bedtime stories, watching her daughter grow into a confident, kind, fearless little girl who knew she was loved by not one family, but two. Jennifer and David Bennett had become more than co-parents. They had become family. Harper split her time between both homes, and everyone made it work because they all loved her more than anything else. One afternoon, Naomi was at the Phoenix Center when Kate called. "Turn on the news, Channel 8. Naomi grabbed the remote and switched on the television in her office. And there on the screen was Marcus. Older now, grayer, thinner. Being interviewed from prison, the reporter asked him about his crimes, about his regrets, about his life behind bars. "I think about what I did every single day," Marcus said, his voice hollow. "I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. Naomi was a good woman, a good wife, and I threw her away for money and vanity, and a woman who never really loved me. Now I have nothing, no freedom, no family, no future." "Do you have a message for your ex-wife?" the reporter asked. Marcus looked directly at the camera. His eyes were dead. "I am sorry, Naomi. I am so sorry. I know those words mean nothing. I know I do not deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that not a day goes by that I do not regret what I did. You deserved so much better." The interview ended. Naomi turned off the television. Kate's voice came through the phone. "How do you feel?" Naomi thought about it. She did not feel angry. She did not feel vindicated. She just felt nothing. Marcus had become irrelevant, a ghost from a life she no longer lived. "I feel free," Naomi said finally. "He is stuck in the past, in his guilt, in his regrets. But I am here. I am alive. I am happy. And that is the best revenge of all." That night, Naomi attended an event at Harper's school. Harper was in a play, playing a sunflower in a production about gardens and growth. She was 5 years old now, bright and funny and fearless. As Naomi sat in the audience with Jennifer and David on either side of her, watching her daughter shine on that stage, she thought about the woman she used to be, the woman who believed she was not enough, who apologized for existing, who let a man define her worth. That woman was gone, not destroyed but transformed, forged in fire and reborn stronger. After the play, Harper ran to Naomi, her costume still on. "Did you see me, Mama Naomi? I did not forget any of my lines." "You were perfect," Naomi said, scooping her up. "Absolutely perfect. Mama Jennifer says we are all going for ice cream. Can we?" "Of course we can," Naomi said, setting her down. "Go get your things." As Harper ran off, a man approached Naomi. He was tall, kind-looking, with warm eyes. His name was Daniel, and he was a firefighter who volunteered at the Phoenix Center. "Great play," he said, smiling. "Harper is incredible." "She is," Naomi agreed. She smiled back at Daniel. They had been dating for 6 months now. Slowly, carefully, building something real. "Dinner this week?" Daniel asked. "Just the two of us?" "I would like that," Naomi said. They walked out together, Naomi's hand in his, Harper skipping ahead with Jennifer and David, and for the first time in years, Naomi felt like her life was exactly where it was supposed to be. 6 months later, on a warm September evening, Naomi stood in her sunflower garden with everyone she loved. Kate was there, the Bennetts, Daniel, friends from the Phoenix Center, and Harper, wearing a flower crown, spinning in circles and laughing. They were celebrating the 6th anniversary of Naomi's survival. Not the fire, not the trauma, the survival. Naomi raised a glass of champagne and everyone quieted. 6 years ago, I thought my story ended, she said. I thought I would die in that fire, forgotten and unloved. But I survived. And these past 6 years have taught me something important. She paused, looking at Harper, who grinned up at her. People will try to break you. Life will knock you down. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will be the ones who hurt you most. But you get to choose what comes next. You get to choose whether to stay down or rise up. You get to choose your story. She raised her glass higher. To everyone here who chose to rise. To everyone who refused to let their pain define them. To everyone who knows that the fire does not destroy us. It just shows us what we are made of. We are phoenixes, and we are just getting started. Everyone cheered and raised their glasses. Harper ran to Naomi and hugged her legs. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby girl, Naomi said, picking her up. Forever and always. As the sun set over the garden, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Naomi Reynolds knew one thing for certain. Marcus had tried to kill her. Vanessa had tried to replace her, but they had failed. Because you cannot destroy a woman who has already walked through fire. You cannot break someone who has already been broken and put herself back together. Naomi was not a victim. She was not a survivor. She was a phoenix, and phoenixes do not just survive the flames, they rise from them, stronger, brighter, unbreakable. And sometimes the best revenge is not making them suffer. It is living so well, so fully, so joyfully, that they become nothing more than a footnote in your story. Marcus Reynolds would spend the rest of his life in prison, haunted by what he destroyed. Vanessa would age behind bars, regretting every choice. But Naomi would spend the rest of her life surrounded by love, building a legacy of strength and hope, raising a daughter who knew she was worth fighting for. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me which moment hit you the hardest. Was it when Marcus abandoned her in the fire, when she finally held Harper again, or when justice was served? Share this with someone who needs to hear a story about rising from the ashes. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We've got more stories of betrayal, revenge, and triumph coming your way. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thanks for being here, Warrior. See you in the next one.